Hey there, fellow trekkers. I'm Linda, your park ranger, here to introduce today's adventure. You might hear me in the background as we navigate the trail together. Today, we're setting off on an easy hike to explore the lesson library in Nearpod. Nearpod is an interactive instructional platform that allows educators to create engaging, multimedia-rich lessons with real-time student participation and feedback. And did you know that Nearpod has an extensive library of already created lessons, templates, activities, and more that you can use and customize for your needs? No more empty white pages wondering how to get started. As you explore, you can keep following the Nearpod Trail or blaze a new one. We've mapped out beginner, intermediate, and advanced trails for every level of EdTech hiker, covering a range of powerful classroom technology tools. Can't spot the next landmark on your journey? Check back soon. We're always adding new trails to explore. Even better, subscribe so you never miss a new path to discovery. Lace up your boots. It's time to hit the trail. So, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to you. Thanks again for being here.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Exploring the Lesson Library in Nearpod. I'm going to drop that link in the chat one more time to join us on Nearpod, or feel free to go to join.nearpod.com and type in our lesson code. You can see it up at the top of the screen, B8DCJ, to join and follow along in the lesson, just kind of showcasing what a fantastic tool Nearpod is for engaging presentations while we're using it. So first step we're going to go to is finding a lesson in Nearpod. So we're focusing on the Nearpod lesson library today. We're going to start off at that trailhead and look at how to find a lesson in the Nearpod library. So what you should see here is kind of the home page when we get to, once we get to log into Nearpod. This is where you can see, there we go, some featured lessons. You can see some of our searching options here to start to filter content. You can type in a code to join a lesson, or you can type in just a topic to start to search the library in. So I'm going to go live here to nearpod.com. And I'm already signed in, but if you are not, feel free to sign in using whichever means, your Google sign in, your Clever sign in, or anything like that. And I'm on my library here, but I'm going to use this menu on the top left and go to the Nearpod library. And that takes me to the page we were just looking at before. So here, Nearpod already filters by some featured lessons, often relevant to upcoming holidays or things going on around the world. Some of their favorite partners that they collaborate with, which we'll take a look at later, or some of their specific features like that Nearpod VR trip that we just went on. And we really have a lot of ways to start to search through this library. The easiest way to get into it is by using the search bar up at the top of the page. So if I click in this search bar here to search through all of the thousands of, many even may be a little bit of an underestimate, of things available on Nearpod, I can start to search for something I want. So I used to be a fourth grade teacher. I'm going to search for long division. And I just type in that, and I start to get 500 different things I can do in Nearpod that have to do with long division. Now, this is a variety. Those 500 are made up of 213 lessons. That means a presentation ready to pull and go that I can customize and use to fit my lessons and my teaching style. Activities that are going to be interactive with the students. This may not be a series of slides, but just one or two that the students do things on. Or videos that may or may not have questions embedded in them for students to watch and answer and interact with, all about that long division subject I did. Now you can see here, I said I was a fourth grade teacher. On the top right corner of any of the thumbnails for the available Nearpod activities, you can see the grades that it's been made for. So the first two are made for sixth grade. Then there's a one for English learners in fourth and fifth grade. And then I have a few that aren't quite labeled, but I can see that. So tons and tons of content to look at and filter through. What I can start to do to narrow these down is use all of these filter boxes along the top left to start to filter my content. So subjects, I'm going to filter these down for math, right? I've already dropped that number of 500 down to 423 just by making sure that they're labeled as a math lesson. For grades, I'm going to click on fourth. Now I'm down to 99 activities. That really filtered out a lot of them, focusing on those that have been deemed appropriate for fourth grade. Could be a range like you see over on this one. If I hover over it, it disappears, but says fourth through eighth grade. Could be one that is just fourth, but anything that includes that fourth grade level. If I want to filter by specific partners, I can use the sources button or this partners button to see the people that have made the lessons. And if I want to filter by activity type, I really want to do, well, I'm actually going to look for a full lesson, so I'm not going to filter those. Anyway, I can start to narrow my results more. I also have the option of clicking on one of these. So if I want to do a lesson, now I'm looking only at the 34 Nearpod activities that are labeled as lessons. Or even more helpful, I can filter by standards on the right here. So I'm an Illinois educator who uses Common Core, math, fourth grade lessons, and I could scroll through about 4.nbt1, and that brought me down to just one relevant lesson that I can preview and start to look at and see if it is in fact what I need. So that's a really quick overview of everything we can do there to start to filter down. I can clear those filters and get back to all of my other activities I had. Once I find the lesson I like, I can click this preview button to get a closer look at it. So I've actually done this vocabulary one before. It's one of my favorite lessons that I do. When I click this preview, I get this screen here, and I can start to scroll through all of the slides on this lesson, see the materials, see what's in it, filter through, and see if this is a good starting point for me to use for my lessons. And I say starting point because I can take this lesson and I can customize it. I could remove pieces if I don't like them or I don't see them as relevant. I can add pieces if I feel like something is missing. I can add other activities, or I can teach it as it is by adding it to my library and or clicking this teach button there. So you can save as many lessons as you want to your library in Nearpod. So if I'm going to grab one more here. Partial quotient strategy. Never made sense to me, but a good one to teach. So I'm going to add this to my library. I'm going to cheat a little bit and not preview it first. So I've clicked this in my library, and I'm going to show you how to find those after you've added them to your library. So you found some lessons, you're ready to go customize or teach. You're going to use this menu in the top left again and click on My Library. And the lessons that you just added, as long as you're sorted by date modified, should be right here up at the top. If you're sorted by alphabetical, well, mine happen to be still near the top too, but it's just going to change them by the name of the lesson. So you can find those at any given time. As you start to add more and more, might be kind of tough to filter through all your lessons. So Nearpod does make it easy by allowing you to add folders here to sort and organize your library. So if I click add folder, I'm going to make a math folder. I can now drag. There's the drag and drops. Oh, it was drag and drop. Okay. Partial quotient strategy, move to my math folder. I can do that with this one too. There we go. It just wasn't getting a little notice that I was doing it there. But now I can see these two in my math folder. So it is that drag and drop option to get them in there and start to organize your library with all of the fantastic lessons that you are going to use from the Nearpod library. Moving forward, we're going to start to ascend to the peak here, reaching the top of that nice hike we have with looking at how to customize these lessons. So we found some lessons that we really like, that we thought would be great for our students. We've put them into our library. Maybe we've even done a little bit of organizing here and put them into folders. I do recommend when using that Nearpod lesson library, we use a rule that I've learned from AI is that 80-20 rule. So a lot of the work is done here. These are made by teachers or by educators, and they can be fantastic lessons. But before you teach them, at least definitely give them a preview and see if you want to edit that lesson at all. So when I'm on this preview page, I have this option to edit the lesson. This is not going to change the lesson you found in the Nearpod library. So if something goes horribly wrong and you've deleted a whole bunch of things that you needed and didn't realize you need, or somehow just got way far away from what the original lesson is, you can find that original lesson again unchanged in the Nearpod lesson library. When you click this edit lesson button, you're only editing your copy of the lesson that you made when you added it to your library. So everything you made is just for you. It's going to be available for you in the future, and save that in your own version. So when I click edit lesson here, I can start to add, remove, change activities that I have in here. So this about this series slide, I don't really like this. I can start to remove that slide in there just so I don't have so many extras. Does it hurt me to keep it in there? Not really. I can move through it quickly, but if I don't want it, I can get rid of it and keep that, and just cut down on my um, content that is in there. If I find something that I have that I really, or I need something that's not in here and I want to add some more, I can use my add new button to start to add time to climb, interactive quizzes, drag and drop activities, whatever you would like. There is a whole slew of Nearpod activities that we're not going to get into today because we could spend a lot of time on that. But for a different time, but certainly worth taking a look at. So all of these lessons that we have are customizable to fit our needs, our teaching styles and the needs of our students. And then once you're done, just click that save and exit to save your customized version of that lesson in your library. And I'm going to take us back to that lesson library one more time as we're working on those customizations, or as you're looking for a new lesson that you may want to customize. This time, instead of filtering by a topic or filtering by standards, I'm going to go to one of these publishers. These are partners with Nearpod and with Renaissance that make lessons available in the lesson library. Some of these you might recognize, like Common Sense Education. Great lessons in there. Some of them maybe you've never heard of before. I have never heard of Sabibi's. But what's really nice is as I'm scrolling through these, you can see this is a publisher that makes content for multiple subjects. Corinth is a publisher that makes science content. So it can help you start to filter what you're seeing. As you start to go through the Nearpod library, you might notice that you interact with a lot of the same lessons frequently, or perhaps you find one that matches the curriculum you use at your district, and you can look at the lessons that are made through there. So one of my favorite ones, the Smithsonian, used to use these lessons all the time. And I can look at, these are filtered by grades, 3 through 12 or 6 through 12. And so now I can look at some of these names that I know and I trust and are fantastic and see the lessons that they have made. Smithsonian's here are mostly videos, but I can just filter these through by those partnered publishers. Likewise, in addition to searching by publishers, I can search by content type. So I mentioned before we have full lessons. Those are multiple slides with multiple pieces, usually has some sort of assessment piece, some sort of interactive learning piece, learning objectives and things like that. Activities, these are sort of what I equivalent is to digital worksheets and or quizzes. So it's not a full lesson, but it's one thing to allow your students to practice a skill. And videos, these are videos that have, I didn't mean to actually click on that, questions embedded in them often. So if I preview this one here, test taking vocabulary, each one of these blue dots along the bottom of the video as I play along is a part where that video is going to get paused and give the students a question to answer before we resume the video. And just like in our poll that we started our tech trek today off with, you can see the students' answers, responses. You can share that data with them, or you can go back and look at it in your reports at the end. But just a different way to filter by the types of content. One that I highly recommend everybody takes a peek at, content type activities. And then if you filter by activity type here, Time to Climb is a blast. This is gamified quizzes encouraging students to answer quickly and accurately to be the first to reach the top of the mountain, the peak, or the beach, whatever it is that they're racing on. So I highly recommend that everybody looks through these time to climb activity types. You can even use the search by topic to filter these down a little bit and find one that may be a blast for you. And again, same as before, you can preview that to look at the questions. Gotta watch the little intro. So here I can see the questions. I can scroll down and look at all of the ones and the available answers, and see if it really is fitting your needs. And then you can add it to your library or teach it to your students. Next thing I want to do is just show us some of the ways that you can launch these lessons with your students. So you found your lessons, you've customized them, they're ready to go. We're going to look at just the ways that we can start to teach these lessons. Nearpod has two main ways to do that. When we click lesson, I'm going to go to New Year for this one. I like the holiday lessons. They're really great. Also fantastic for subplans if you don't have those. And I'm going to preview this K2 New Year's Day lesson. That's just going to help them understand the origins of New Year's Day and how it's celebrated. I've done my due diligence and started to look through about the objectives and what this has. This is fantastic. I love it. I'm not going to do any customization here, or even if I am going to do some customization here, I'm ready to teach it. So when I'm on this preview page, I have this teach button. And if I click that, you're going to see I have two options. Live participation, that's what we're using today. What that gives me is a single code, gets everybody on the lesson. And you've noticed as I move through our Nearpod, your screen moves too. So I kind of control your devices and control where you are on Nearpod to make sure that you are on the same page as me. Fantastic for having students follow along, for keeping their focus, for keeping your speed runners from jumping ahead, and for fixing that I can't see the board that comes up all the time because it's on their screen in front of them if you're doing it in class. Also fantastic for that virtual learning because now everybody at home is on the same page, no matter where they are, as long as they joined with that link. It gets everybody to be right where they need to be to make sure that you're maximizing their learning and that they can see what you're referencing when you're teaching them. That's what that live participation does. All of the features of Nearpod work in live participation. Collaborate boards, polls, quizzes, time to climbs, all sorts of stuff like that. All works flawlessly and fantastically. I really like to do this when I'm teaching in my classroom. Our other option is student paced. When I click on student paced to launch a student paced lesson, I'm going to get a unique join code, and it's going to be open by default for 30 days, 29 days, for your students to participate. So you can share this link, post it on Google Classroom or wherever if you just have the link, you post things for your students. You can have the option to, I always turn this on, require responses and prevent skipping. This means they have to answer the questions before they move through. They can't just click to the end. You can change how long it's available for. So maybe this is something we're doing for a quarter. I'm going to put it all the way to the end of February. And now we have 80 days to finish this. When I post that link for them, that lesson is available for the students until that end date that I selected. They can join, rejoin, complete part of it, and go back to it at any given time. So it's really great for those subplans when you want to have them get through a lesson, but you're not going to be there to facilitate it, but you're not sure if the substitute's going to be able to facilitate it either. Student-paced lesson posted for them to access is a great way to do that. All of the features of Nearpod, collaborate boards, polls, time to climbs, also work on the student-paced lessons, even though it's asynchronous. It's going to save their progress in the time to climb and compare them with the next student that gets there as they move through. If they're the first one to the collaborate board, they're not going to see other students' comments, but when they go back to it, they can see them after other students have posted, so they can always go back and check. So all of those collaborative learning features still work even when the students are working asynchronously on a student-paced lesson. So really two fantastic ways to launch these. So I showed you how to launch it from finding it in the Nearpod library. If Once I've started to teach, you notice my add to my library changed to an edit lesson. So this is now in my library because I started to teach it. If I go back to my library, I can click on any of my lessons. I can click teach here to get those same options, or I can preview and I'm back on the screen I was at before, and I can click teach here to use those options. If I have a lesson that I have previously started and I click teach and now I click student paste again, I can see that I have one that I started at 4 o'clock on December 9th. Here's the code, and I can get that copy or that link again for students there, or I can start a fresh one if for some reason I need to. Same with this is the Nearpod we're doing today. If I click live participation, here's the one I started for us today. I can resume that lesson if we got stopped in the middle of it, or I can start a new one with a new group of students or a new class or whoever it is. So Nearpod makes it really easy to make these lessons fit what you have and make them available for you in many, many ways. The lesson library is a great way to get started with Nearpod and see some of the different features there and how they can be used in lessons. And then, you kind of have that inspiration to be like, oh, okay, I can do this on my own, and I can start to use my own questions. I can recreate materials maybe you have on paper and make them these interactive lessons. So yeah, the upcoming tech trek, new trail to create those lessons from scratch and all of the features that are available there. And certainly, using those same things to customize and enhance the existing lessons for sure.
Thanks, Mark. We'll see you on the next hike.